Hello students, very good morning to all of you. Today I am going to explain you the third poem of your book First Flight, that is A Tiger in the Zoo, written by George Leslie Norris. Let me introduce you with the poet. The poet Leslie Norris was a prize winning Welsh poet and story writer. He is considered as most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary works have won many prizes. His famous works are Finding Gold, The Loud Winder, Phoenix Living Poets series, Ransoms, etc. So, this was about the poet. Now, let's move on to the poem. So, first, let me introduce you the poem. What is the poem about? This poem In this poem, the poet Leslie Norris explains the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet explains what his life could be if he had been a free animal. Here, the poet has contrasted the life of the tiger in the zoo with the tiger living in his natural habitat, that is, the forest. The poet in this poem has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. So now let's begin with the poem. I am reading the first stanza and I am going to explain you, giving you the meaning of the hard words and the various poetic devices used. So first stanza says, he stalks in his vivid strips. Here vivid means bright colored. Stalks means follows. He stalks in his vivid stripes, not strips, stripes, the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet. Here, velvet is the paw of the tiger. Velvet pads are the paws of the tiger, which are here compared to the velvet. In his quiet rage. So, rage is what? Anger. So, here two contrasting words. Here, rage is used with quiet. So, we will talk of the poetic devices used in the poem afterwards. First, let me explain you the poem. Here, in these lines, the poet says that the tiger that is confined in the zoo moves around in the cage under his bright colored skin. He further says that the tiger can take only a few steps because the cage is very small and it is not easy to move in it, as the tiger is in the habit of moving in the forest freely. One cannot hear his footsteps because he has very soft feet like velvet, because of which there is no sound of the tiger's footsteps. The tiger tries to control his anger by quietly walking in the limited area of his cage. He is angry because he is not free and he wants to roam about in the forest freely, for which he is born. Now, we will see to the rhyme scheme and the literary devices used in this stanza. The very first literary device that we can see is used in this stanza is personification, as the tiger is personified because the poet refers him as he. Another poetic device used is metaphor. Here, tiger's paws are compared with velvet. So, they are called as pads of velvet. So, it is a metaphor used in this line. Next poetic device used is enjambment. I told you what is enjambment. The sentence is continuing to the next line without any punctuation mark. So, in this stanza, enjambment is there. Then next poetic device is imagery. Why? Just because poet tries to create an image about the poet. He says that he stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. Next poetic device used is consonance. I told you what is consonance. Consonance is the use of consonant word repeatedly, or consonant alphabet repeatedly in a line. So here use of S sounds in stock his stripe. So here S is repeated, so consonance is used in the very first line of the stanza. Next poetic device that is used is assonance. Assonance is the use of vowel sound. So in his vivid stripes, here I is repeated many times in each word. The I is there, I is a vowel, so therefore in this line assonance is used. Then another poetic device that is used in the last line in his quiet rage. I told you the two contrasting words, quiet is used with rage. So the poetic device used in this line is oxymoron, because here the use of adjectives opposite in meaning are there. Quiet is used with rage, rage is anger, and it is called as quiet. So two contradictory words are there, so this poetic device is called as oxymoron. I hope you have understood the first stanza. Now let's move on to the second stanza. The second stanza says, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole, where plump deer pass. Here, in the very first line, the word lurking is hiding. Okay, when it is used for the tiger, because it is hiding in the grass, tall grass, and waiting for his prey. So therefore lurking, he is hiding to wait for his prey. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole, where the water hole is the place where the deers or other animals come to drink water, where plump deer pass. So the main food or main prey of the tiger is the deer. So he is waiting for the deer to come to the water hole. So in this stanza, the poet says that if this tiger was free, he is mentioning the tiger who is in the cage, that if he was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies, so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have it as his food. Basically, the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in jungle where he could catch his prey and eat it, but the tiger in the cage cannot do so. So this is the irony over here. So now the poetic devices used in this stanza is enjambment in the line, because the whole stanza here, the line is continuing to the next line without any punctuation mark. It is beginning from sliding through long grass till where plump deer pass. So here no punctuation mark is used, so it is called as enjambment. Next is alliteration. Another poetic device is alliteration. Now here the use of P at the start of the two words plump pass. So here P is repeated twice in the same line, so it is called as alliteration. Another poetic device that is used in this stanza is imagery. The poet here has tried to create an image of tiger's activities, that is, he is using the words like lurking in shadow, though activities, so it is imagery. Now image is made in our mind about the tiger. Now if we talk of the rhyme scheme, the very first stanza has the rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B. And in the second stanza, the rhyme scheme is again A, B, C, B. So the whole poem has a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B. So now let's move on to the third stanza. The third stanza says, he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. So here, what do you mean by baring? Baring means uncovered. Snarling means the warning sounds made by animals. Snarling, दहाड़ना जिसको आप हिंदी में बोलते हैं. Next is fangs. Fangs is the sharp tooth of animals. As you can see in all animals, they are having the canines, the big sharp teeth in order to tear the flesh. So fangs are called that. So in this stanza, the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have snarled around the houses located at the outskirts of the forest. He would terrorize people with his sharp tooth and claws. This would create fear among the people living in villages. So, here the poet is just telling that the tiger who is in the cage is helpless, and if he was out, he would have done all these kind of activities, because the main work or the main aim of the tiger, or for which the tiger is born, is to terrorize the people. So in this stanza the poetic devices used are: first is enjambment. Here the line continues to the next without any punctuation mark. In this line it starts from, he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. So in these lines enjambment is used. Next is onomatopoeia, which is related to the sound. Here using the word which denotes sound, that is snarling. Snarling is the onomatopoeia. Now next is assonance. Assonance is the use of vowel sound of O and I in the words like should, around, houses, bearing, his, white, his. So O and I is repeated in all these words. So it is assonance over here. Then consonance, use of consonant sound, continuous consonant alphabet, the words beginning with the consonant alphabets. His fangs, his claws. So here this is the consonance, because the repeated word of the sound of S is in all these words. Now let's move on to the next stanza.